Welcome, friend. Tonight we walk a quiet path together. The day has asked much of you, and now the evening opens its arms. You have arrived here in this gentle darkness, seeking rest, and rest is what awaits you. There is nothing more you need to do. There is nowhere else you need to be. The pillow beneath your head holds you. The blanket around your body keeps you warm, and this voice will stay with you, softly, until sleep arrives on its own. Let your eyes remain closed. Let your shoulders fall away from your ears. Feel the weight of your body pressing down into the bed beneath you. This is good. This is right. You are exactly where you should be. The world outside continues its turning, but here, in this room, time has slowed. Here, in this moment, you are safe. You are held. You are home. Somewhere, a candle flickers in a distant window. The flame bends gently in a draught you cannot see. It does not struggle against the wind. It simply moves with it. And this is how we begin our journey tonight. Not by fighting what is, but by softening into it. Not by grasping for peace, but by noticing that peace already lives within us. It has always been there, waiting, like a still pond beneath a frozen surface, like starlight hidden behind passing clouds. Breathe in slowly now. Feel the air fill your chest, your belly, your whole being, and then let it go. Let the exhale be long and easy. There is no perfect way to breathe. There is only this breath, and then the next. Each one a gift, each one a return to the present moment. The past cannot hold you here. The future has not yet arrived. There is only now, only this gentle darkness, only the soft rhythm of your own body at rest. The rain begins somewhere far away. You can hear it, faintly, like a whisper against leaves. It falls on temple roofs and garden stones, on bamboo groves and quiet courtyards. The rain does not ask permission. It simply falls. It does not worry about where it lands. It does not cling to the sky from which it came. And when it reaches the earth, it seeps into soil and stream without hesitation. This is the way of water. This is the way of all things that flow without resistance. Tonight we will walk through ancient stories together. Stories told by monks to students, by teachers to seekers, by elders to children beside dying fires. These are not tales of heroes or battles. They are quieter than that. They are stories about ordinary people discovering extraordinary truths. Truths that have always been right before their eyes. Truths about letting go. Truths about being present. Truths about the peace that comes when we stop struggling against life. But first, settle deeper into this moment. Feel the heaviness in your limbs. It is not exhaustion. It is release. It is your body remembering how to rest. Your hands lie open at your sides or folded gently across your heart. There is no tension to hold. There is no problem to solve. For these next hours, you have only one task: to listen, to breathe, to let yourself drift towards sleep like a leaf floating on still water. The night is long and full of quiet wonders. Somewhere, an owl calls across an empty field. Somewhere, a temple bell rings once and then falls silent. Somewhere, an old monk sits beside a window, watching moonlight move across the floor. He does not chase the light. He does not mourn when it passes. He simply watches. He simply breathes. He simply is. And in his stillness, he finds everything he has ever needed. This is what we seek tonight. Not answers, but presence. Not understanding, but acceptance. Not control, but surrender. The mind will want to hold on. It always does. It will offer you thoughts like small birds landing on a branch, but you do not have to follow them. You can simply watch them arrive and watch them fly away. You can remain where you are, rooted and still, like a mountain that has stood for 1,000 years. Peace is not something we create, it is what remains when we stop struggling. Let me tell you now about a woman who lived many centuries ago. Her name does not matter, for names are only sounds we give to things that exist beyond words. She lived in a small village at the edge of a great forest. Her house was simple, with paper walls and a wooden floor worn smooth by years of careful footsteps. She was a calligrapher, a painter of words, and her brushwork was known throughout the province for its grace and clarity. But there was something unusual about this woman. She had been blind since birth. She had never seen the moon or the mountains or the cherry blossoms that fell like snow each spring. She had never seen the characters she painted, the strokes and curves that others called beautiful. She knew them only by touch, by memory, by the feeling of the brush moving through ink and across paper. People travelled great distances to watch her work. They sat in silence as she prepared her ink, grinding the stone slowly against the water. They held their breath as she lifted her brush and paused, her unseeing eyes turned toward the ceiling. And then, without hesitation, she would begin. The brush moved like wind across the page. Each stroke was perfect. Each character emerged as if it had always been there, waiting beneath the white surface. One day, a young scholar arrived at her door. He had studied calligraphy for many years. He had copied the masters. He had practiced until his fingers ached and his eyes blurred. And yet, something was always missing. His work was technically correct, but it had no life. It did not breathe. It did not sing. He had heard stories of the blind calligrapher and wondered if she might teach him her secret. He found her sitting in her garden, listening to the wind move through the bamboo. She turned her head slightly when she heard his footsteps. She invited him to sit. He spoke quickly, nervously, explaining his frustration. He told her about all the years of practice. He told her about his dissatisfaction, his sense that true mastery was always just beyond his reach. She listened without interrupting. When he finally fell silent, she nodded slowly. She asked him a simple question. She asked what he saw when he painted. He did not understand. He told her that he saw the paper, the ink, the characters he was trying to create. He saw his own hand holding the brush. He saw the reference texts he was copying. She nodded again. Then she asked what he felt. He paused. He did not know how to answer. He had never thought about what he felt while painting. He was always too busy looking. She rose and walked into her small studio. Her steps were certain despite the darkness in which she lived. She invited him to follow. Inside, scrolls hung from the walls, each one covered in flowing characters. She prepared her ink in silence. She selected a brush and held it for a long moment, as if listening to its weight. Then she turned to face him, though she could not see his face. She told him that the eyes are beautiful servants, but terrible masters. She explained that when we rely only on what we see, we miss what we feel. We miss the rhythm of the moment. We miss the breath that moves through us as we work. The brush does not paint with the hand alone. It paints with the whole body, with the belly and the heart, with the silence between thoughts. This is what gives the stroke its life. She dipped her brush in ink and raised it above a blank sheet of paper. She stood perfectly still. The scholar watched, barely breathing, One heartbeat passed, then another, and then, like water released from a dam, the brush descended. It swept across the paper in one continuous motion. When she lifted it away, a single character remained. It was the word for peace. The scholar stared at the character. It was unlike anything he had ever seen. The stroke was imperfect by traditional standards. It curved where it should have been straight. It varied in thickness in unexpected ways. And yet it was alive. It seemed to breathe on the page. It seemed to pulse with a quiet energy that made his chest feel warm. He understood in that moment that he had been looking at calligraphy with the wrong eyes. Stillness is not the absence of movement, it is the presence of attention. The blind calligrapher did not paint perfectly because she could not see. She painted truthfully because she could not see. Without the distraction of appearance, she was free to feel, free to listen, free to let the brush move through her rather than trying to control it. She did not fight the imperfections, she welcomed them. They were proof that the character had come from somewhere real, somewhere beyond technique, somewhere beyond the grasping mind. The young scholar stayed with her for many months. She did not teach him forms or techniques. Instead, she asked him to close his eyes. She asked him to paint in darkness. At first, his characters were wild and unrecognizable. He felt embarrassed. He felt foolish. But slowly, something began to change. With his eyes closed, he started to notice things he had never noticed before. He felt the weight of the brush in his hand. He felt the moment when the bristles first touched the paper. He felt the ink flowing from the tip like blood from a heart. When he finally returned home, his calligraphy was transformed. It was not perfect. It would never be perfect. But it was alive. It breathed. It sang. And when people asked him how he had learned to paint with such feeling, he simply smiled and said nothing. Some truths cannot be spoken. They can only be lived. Let this story settle into you now like rain into soil. You do not need to analyze it. You do not need to remember every detail. Simply let it rest in the quiet spaces of your mind. Let it work its gentle magic while you continue to breathe, continue to soften, continue to drift towards sleep. The night deepens around you. The candle flame grows smaller. Somewhere the rain has stopped and a profound silence fills the air. In that silence, everything is possible. In that silence, nothing needs to be done. You are not your thoughts. You are not your worries. You are the awareness in which they appear and dissolve, like clouds crossing the sky of consciousness, like ripples fading on the surface of still water. Peace is not something we find. It is what we are when we stop searching. Think now about your own life. Where do you hold on too tightly? Where do you grip and grasp and refuse to let go? Perhaps it is a memory that still brings you pain. Perhaps it is a hope for the future that has not yet arrived. Perhaps it is simply the desire to control how each day unfolds. These are natural tendencies. They are part of being human, but they are also the source of much of our suffering. The blind calligrapher didn't try to see. She accepted her darkness and found freedom within it. She did not fight against what was. She did not wish for a different life. She simply inhabited the life she had, fully and completely. And in that complete inhabitation, she discovered something remarkable. She discovered that what seemed like a limitation was actually a gift, a doorway to a deeper way of being. Perhaps your own limitations are also doorways. Perhaps the things you think are holding you back are actually invitations. Invitations to slow down. Invitations to feel more deeply. Invitations to discover who you are when you stop trying to be someone else. This is not a lesson to be learned once and remembered. It is a practice to be lived moment by moment, breath by breath. Let your body sink deeper now. Feel the bed rising to meet you like water supporting a floating leaf. There is no effort required to stay afloat. The water does the work. Life does the work. All you have to do is stop fighting, stop struggling, stop believing that you must hold everything together by force of will. You do not have to hold the world. The world holds itself, and you are free to rest. The stories continue, as they always have. They pass from one generation to the next, like rivers flowing to the sea. Each telling is slightly different, shaped by the voice that speaks and the ears that listen. But the truth at their centre remains unchanged. It is a truth older than language, older than thought. It is the truth of our shared humanity, our common longing for peace. In a monastery high in the mountains, there once lived a cat. No one knew where the cat had come from. It had simply appeared one morning, sitting on the steps of the main hall, as if it had always been there. The monks debated what to do. Some wanted to chase the cat away. It was a distraction, they said, from their meditation. Others wanted to adopt it. A cat, they argued, was a living being deserving of compassion. The debate grew heated. Voices were raised. The peaceful silence of the monastery was broken by argument. Finally, the abbot was called to settle the matter. He was an old man with kind eyes and a gentle smile. He listened to both sides without speaking. He watched the cat sitting calmly on the steps, grooming its fur in the morning light. When the debate finally ended, he picked up the cat and held it before the assembled monks. He told them that whoever could speak a word of Zen would save the cat. If not, he would have to cut the cat in two, giving half to each faction. The monks were stunned into silence. They looked at each other with wide eyes. They opened their mouths to speak, but no words came. What word could possibly be the word of Zen? What answer could satisfy such an impossible question? The moment stretched into an agonizing eternity. The cat continued to purr in the abbot's arms, unaware of the drama unfolding around it. The stillness we seek is not found in answers. It is found in the spaces between questions. Finally, one young monk stepped forward. He did not speak. Instead, he simply removed his sandals and placed them on his head. The other monks gasped. Some laughed nervously. It seemed like madness, but the abbot smiled and gently set the cat down. The cat walked calmly toward the young monk and curled up at his feet. The debate was over. The monastery returned to peace. Later, when the other monks asked the young man to explain his strange action, he shook his head. He told them that the question had no answer, because the question itself was the problem. The monks had divided themselves over the cat. They had created two sides where there were none. The sandals on his head broke the logic of the situation. It was absurd, yes, but the absurdity was the point. You cannot solve a problem created by thinking with more thinking. Sometimes you must step outside the mind altogether. This story may seem strange to you. It may seem like nonsense, but let it wash over you anyway. Let it soften the edges of your rational mind. Not everything in life makes sense. Not everything can be explained. And perhaps it is in the unexplainable moments that we come closest to something true, something beyond words, something that can only be felt in the quiet centre of our being. The cat remained at the monastery for many years. It wandered freely through the halls and gardens. It attended meditations, curling up beside the monks as they sat in silence. It never caused trouble. It never demanded attention. It simply was. And in its simple being, it became one of the best teachers the monastery had ever known. It taught without speaking. It demonstrated presence without trying. It lived each moment as if that moment were the only moment that mattered. What would it be like to live that way? What would it feel like to move through your days without the weight of yesterday or the worry of tomorrow? It might feel strange at first. The mind would resist. It would tell you that you need to plan, to prepare, to protect yourself from what might come. But what if you could trust? What if you could believe, even for a moment, that everything you need will be provided? That you are held by something larger than yourself? This is not blind faith. It is not denial of reality. It is a different relationship with reality. It is the recognition that most of our suffering comes not from what happens, but from our resistance to what happens. When we stop fighting, something shifts. The struggle ends, and in its place, a profound peace emerges. Not the peace of getting what we want, but the peace of no longer needing things to be different than they are. Breathe deeply now. Feel your chest rise and fall. Feel the air entering your lungs, filling you with life, and then feel it leave, carrying with it whatever you no longer need. Each exhale is a release. Each exhale is a letting go. You do not have to hold on to anything. Not your thoughts, not your fears, not your hopes. They will take care of themselves. Your only job is to breathe. Your only job is to rest. Your only job is to be here, now, in this gentle darkness. Peace is not something we achieve. It is what remains when we stop striving. The hours of the night pass like slow rivers flowing to the sea. Each moment dissolves into the next without effort or struggle. The stars move across the sky in their ancient dance, too far away to see but always present. The moon rises and sets according to laws older than memory, and you are part of this vast unfolding. You are not separate from the universe. You are an expression of it, a single wave in an infinite ocean, a single breath in eternal breathing. There is a comfort in this understanding. It does not make you smaller, it makes you larger. You are connected to everything that has ever been and everything that will ever be. The same atoms that formed in dying stars now form the cells of your body. The same water that fell as rain 1 billion years ago now flows through your veins. You are ancient and new. You are temporary and eternal. You are one small life and the whole of existence all at once. Let me tell you now about a temple that burned down long ago. It was called the Temple of 10,000 Scrolls. For centuries, it had housed the greatest collection of wisdom in all the land. Monks had spent their lives copying texts by candlelight. Scholars had travelled from distant kingdoms to study within its walls. The scrolls contained poetry and philosophy, history and meditation techniques. They were considered priceless, irreplaceable, sacred. One night, a fire began in the kitchen. It spread quickly through the wooden buildings. The monks woke to the smell of smoke and the sound of crackling flames. They poured water from wells and buckets from the nearby stream, but it was no use. The fire was too hungry. It consumed everything in its path. By morning, only ashes remained. The temple, the scrolls, centuries of accumulated wisdom, all gone in a single night. The monks gathered in the courtyard, their faces black with soot and wet with tears. Everything they had devoted their lives to protecting had been destroyed. Years of study gone. Generations of careful preservation erased. Some wept openly. Others sat in stunned silence. The loss was too great to comprehend. It was like the death of everything they had ever loved. Among them was an old master who had spent 50 years at the temple. He had read every scroll. He had taught countless students. His whole life had been dedicated to preserving and transmitting the wisdom contained in those texts. But as he stood among the ashes, something strange happened. He began to smile, and then, to the shock of everyone present, he began to laugh. The other monks were horrified. Had the master lost his mind? Had grief driven him to madness? They gathered around him, concerned and confused. When his laughter finally subsided, he wiped his eyes and looked at them with great tenderness. He told them that for 50 years he had been afraid that the scrolls would be damaged, afraid that the ink would fade, afraid that fire or flood or war would come. And now his fear had come true. The worst had happened, and he was still here. The sky was still above. The earth was still beneath. Nothing essential had changed. The teachings were never in the scrolls, he explained. The teachings were always in the moment, in the breath, in the awareness that reads and understands. The scrolls were only paper and ink. They were fingers pointing at the moon, but they were not the moon itself. The moon still shines. It has always shined, and it will continue to shine long after every scroll has turned to dust. What we cling to most fiercely is often what we most need to release. The monks did not understand at first. How could he speak so calmly about such a catastrophic loss? But in the days and weeks that followed, something shifted within them. They began to notice things they had never noticed before. The way the morning light fell through the trees, the sound of the stream rushing over rocks, the taste of simple rice eaten in silence. Without their scrolls to study, they were forced to study life itself. And life, they discovered, was the greatest teacher of all. They rebuilt the temple, smaller this time. They did not try to recreate the lost library. Instead, they created a garden, a place of stillness and beauty where anyone could come to sit and breathe and simply be. People came from far and wide, not to read ancient texts, but to experience the peace that radiated from the monks who tended the garden. The loss had become a gift. The destruction had become a doorway. From the ashes, something new and beautiful had grown. This is the nature of impermanence. Everything changes. Everything passes. The flowers bloom and fade. The seasons turn. The people we love grow old and eventually leave us. We can fight against this truth. We can pretend it is not so. Or we can embrace it. We can let it deepen our appreciation for what we have right now, for this moment, for this breath, for this precious, fleeting life. If these teachings bring you peace, you are welcome to subscribe and return whenever you wish to rest. The night continues its slow unfolding. You have been resting now for some time, and perhaps you have begun to drift. Perhaps the boundary between waking and sleeping has started to blur. This is good. This is natural. Do not try to stay awake. Do not try to fall asleep. Simply let whatever happens happen. The body knows what to do. The mind knows when to quiet. You do not have to manage the process. You only have to allow it. Think of water finding its way down a mountainside. It does not plan its route. It does not worry about obstacles. It simply flows. When it meets a rock, it goes around. When it meets a cliff, it falls. When it reaches a valley, it spreads out and becomes a lake. It takes the shape of whatever container holds it. It yields to every force. And yet, over time, water carves through the hardest stone. Its softness is its strength. Its surrender is its power. You can be like water. You can let life flow through you rather than fighting against its current. You can adapt to circumstances without losing your essential nature. You can be soft and strong at the same time. This is not passivity. This is not giving up. It is a different kind of action. An action that arises from stillness. An action that requires no effort because it is in harmony with the way things are. The great teachers speak often of effortless effort. It sounds like a contradiction. How can effort be effortless? But anyone who has ever lost themselves in an activity they love understands what this means. The painter who forgets herself in the flow of colour. The musician who becomes one with the music. The child who plays without any sense of time passing. In these moments, action and actor merge. There is no separation between the doer and the done. This is effortless effort. This is flow. Perhaps you have known such moments. Perhaps you have tasted this freedom. It does not last, of course. Nothing does. The mind returns. The sense of separation reasserts itself. But knowing that such moments are possible changes everything. It shows us that another way of being exists, a way that does not require constant struggle, a way that feels like coming home to a place we have always known but somehow forgotten. Peace is not a distant destination, it is the path itself. Let your breathing slow even further now. Let each inhale be long and gentle. Let each exhale carry you deeper into rest. There is nowhere to go. There is nothing to figure out. The answers you seek are not found in thinking. They are found in this silence, in this darkness, in this holy rest that your body has been longing for. The stories continue to unfold like flowers opening in slow motion. Each petal reveals another layer of truth. Each moment of stillness contains a universe of wisdom. But the wisdom is not in the words. The words are only boats to carry you across the river. Once you reach the other shore, you leave the boat behind. You do not carry it on your head as you continue your journey. The teaching serves its purpose and then dissolves. What remains is only the truth itself, the wordless, formless, eternal truth. In a garden behind an old monastery, there once grew a single plum tree. It was not particularly large or beautiful. Its branches were gnarled and twisted by years of wind and weather. Its bark was rough and scarred, but every spring, without fail, it burst into the most magnificent blossoms anyone had ever seen. Pale pink petals covered every branch like snow. The fragrance drifted across the temple grounds, sweeter than incense. The monks treasured this tree. They tended it carefully. They pruned its dead branches and nourished its roots. They built a small fence around it to protect it from harm. They even composed poems in its honour. But the tree itself seemed unaware of the attention. It simply did what plum trees do. It grew. It bloomed, it dropped its petals, it bore fruit, it rested through winter, and then, when spring came, it bloomed again. There was a young monk who spent many hours sitting beneath this tree. He was troubled by questions he could not answer. Questions about the meaning of life. questions about death and suffering and why the world was the way it was. He asked his teachers, but their answers did not satisfy him. He read the scrolls, but the words seemed hollow. He meditated for hours, but his mind would not be still. The questions followed him everywhere, like shadows he could not shake. One spring morning, as the plum tree was coming into bloom, the young monk had an experience that changed him forever. He was sitting in his usual spot, watching the first petals unfurl, when something shifted inside him. It was not a thought. It was not an answer to his questions. It was a complete absence of questions. Total silence. A falling away of everything he had believed about himself and the world. In that moment, he saw the plum tree clearly for the first time. He saw that it was not separate from him, that he was not separate from it, that the boundary between his body and the world was an illusion created by thinking. The tree was blooming, yes, but so was he. The same force that pushed the petals open was pushing his heart to beat. The same life that flowed through the roots was flowing through his veins. There was only one thing happening, and it had no name. The words that describe the truth are not the truth. The moon reflected in water is not the moon. When the monk tried to tell his teachers what had happened, he found that he could not. The experience was beyond language. Every word he chose seemed to shrink it, to make it smaller than it was. So he stopped trying to explain. He simply lived his realization. He moved through his days with a new lightness. He smiled more. He worried less. He attended to his duties with care and attention. And when people asked him what had changed, he simply pointed to the plum tree and said nothing. Years passed. The young monk became an old monk. Students came to study with him, drawn by the peace that seemed to radiate from his very presence. They asked him the same questions he had once asked, questions about meaning and suffering and death. He listened with great patience, and then, instead of answering, he would take them to the garden and sit with them beneath the plum tree. Some students grew frustrated. They wanted answers. They wanted techniques. They wanted a path they could follow step by step. But the old monk offered them nothing but his presence, nothing but the silence of the garden and the beauty of the tree. And for those who had eyes to see, this was enough. This was more than enough. This was everything. The truth cannot be taught. It can only be realized. And the realization comes not through effort, but through surrender. Not through seeking, but through stopping. Not through acquisition, but through letting go. This is the paradox at the heart of all spiritual practice. The thing we are looking for is already here. The peace we seek is already present, but we cannot see it because we are too busy looking. Breathe deeply now. Let the story settle into you, like snow falling on a quiet field. You do not need to understand it with your mind. Let your body understand. Let your heart understand. The deeper wisdom is not held in thought. It is held in the spaces between thoughts, in the silence beneath the noise, in the stillness at the center of the storm. The night has deepened further. Perhaps you are more asleep than awake now. Perhaps the words have become a river of sound, washing over you without needing to be understood. This is as it should be. The purpose of these words is not to inform you. It is to accompany you, to keep you company as you make your way into sleep. Like a friend walking beside you in the dark, like a hand reaching out to hold yours. You are not alone. What we call the self is only a story we tell ourselves, a collection of memories and habits and preferences bundled together and given a name. But the name is not the reality. The story is not the truth. Behind the story, beneath the name, there is something that has no beginning and no end, something that was present before you were born and will continue after you die. This is your true nature. This is who you really are. You do not have to believe this. You do not have to understand it. It is simply an invitation to consider. What if everything you think you know about yourself is incomplete? What if the person you have been pretending to be is only a tiny fragment of who you actually are? What if the boundaries you have drawn around yourself are arbitrary lines on an infinite landscape? Peace is not something we possess. It is what we become when we stop possessing. Let me tell you one more story before sleep carries you away. It is a story about a monk and a glass of water. The monk was very old. He had spent his entire life in the monastery, practicing meditation and studying the teachings. He was respected by all who knew him. They considered him enlightened, though he himself would never use such a word. One day, a younger monk came to him with a question. He asked the old master what the secret of his peace was. How was it that he could remain so calm in the face of any difficulty? How was it that nothing seemed to disturb his equanimity? The old master did not answer right away. Instead, he picked up a glass of water from the table beside him. He held it up to the light. He asked the younger monk how heavy the glass was. The younger monk thought for a moment and guessed that it weighed perhaps a few ounces. The old master nodded. He said that if he held the glass for a minute, it was not a problem. If he held it for an hour, his arm would ache. If he held it for a day, his arm would feel paralyzed. He would be in agony. But the weight of the glass had not changed. It was his holding that caused the suffering. The younger monk began to understand. The old master continued. He explained that our worries and fears and regrets are like this glass. If we think about them for a moment and then put them down, they do not cause us harm. But if we carry them all day, all week, all year, they begin to weigh us down. They exhaust us. They paralyze us. The solution is simple. Put the glass down. Let go of what you are holding. The younger monk asked how. How does one simply put down a worry? How does one let go of a fear that has been carried for years? The old master smiled. He said that the putting down is not an action. It is the ceasing of an action. You do not have to do anything to let go. You simply have to stop doing the thing you are doing. Stop clenching. Stop gripping. Stop telling yourself that you must hold on. The glass falls from your hand the moment you stop holding it up. This is the practice, not adding something new, but releasing what is already there, not building up strength, but recognizing that the struggle itself is optional. The thoughts will come, they always do, but you do not have to hold them. You can let them pass through you like wind through an open window, like water through an open hand, like clouds across the sky of awareness. What we resist persists, what we allow flows. The glass of water still sits on the table. The old master places it gently down. The younger monk watches. Something shifts in him. He realizes that he has been carrying glasses all his life. Hundreds of them, thousands, worries about the past, fears about the future, judgments about himself and others, expectations, resentments, regrets. His arms are trembling from the effort. His whole body aches with the weight. In that moment, he makes a decision, not a dramatic resolution, not a grand commitment, simply a quiet decision to try something different, to notice when he is holding a glass, and then gently to put it down, not forever, not perfectly, just for this moment, just for this breath, and then for the next moment, and the next breath, one glass at a time, one release at a time, one step at a time toward freedom. You can make the same decision now. As you lie in the darkness, notice what you are carrying. What thoughts are circling in your mind? What worries are you holding? What resentments are you feeding? You do not have to fight them. You do not have to push them away. Simply notice that you are holding them, and then gently, lovingly put them down. Let them rest beside you on the bed. Let them dissolve into the darkness. They are not you. They never were. The night receives everything you offer it. All your fears, all your hopes, all your stories about who you are and who you should be. The night does not judge. It does not evaluate. It simply receives. And in its vast receiving, everything is transformed. The sharp edges soften. The heavy weights dissolve. The clenched fists open, and you are left with only this breath, only this moment, only this peace that passes understanding. Peace is not a state to be achieved. It is a presence to be recognized. The hours have passed. You may not know how many. Time moves differently in this space between waking and sleeping. The words continue, but they are softer now, more distant, like a voice calling across a wide lake. You can hear it, but you do not need to understand. You can feel it, but you do not need to grasp. The journey is almost complete. The shore is approaching. Sleep is rising to meet you like a tide. In the final moments before sleep claims you, let everything fall away. Let the stories fade into silence. Let the images dissolve into darkness. Let the voice that has been accompanying you become one with the silence it speaks from. There is nothing left to do. There is nothing left to understand. There is only this vast openness, this infinite rest, this return to the source from which you came and to which you will always return. The teachers speak of a sky that is always clear, above the clouds, above the storms, above the darkest night. The sky is always blue. The weather changes, the clouds gather and disperse, the rain falls and stops, but the sky itself remains unchanged, untouched, unstained. This is what you are, this clear awareness, this spacious presence, this silent witness that has been watching everything unfold since the very beginning. You are not your thoughts. They are weather. You are not your emotions. They are clouds. You are not your body. It is a form that appears and disappears. You are the sky. You have always been the sky. And the sky does not sleep or wake. It does not come or go. It simply is. And in its isness, everything is held, everything is embraced, everything is allowed. The breath moves on its own now. You do not have to guide it. The heart beats without your instruction. The blood flows without your attention. Life lives itself through you. It always has. It always will. You are not the one in control. You never were. And in recognizing this, in surrendering to this, a great weight lifts. The burden you have been carrying was never yours to carry. You can set it down. You can rest. What we call awakening is simply this, recognizing what has always been true. The moon has moved across the sky. The stars have shifted in their ancient patterns. Somewhere, dawn is preparing to break over a distant horizon. But here, in this room, In this bed, the darkness remains complete, welcoming, nourishing, a womb of rest into which you are cradled like a child. Let the final thoughts drift away. Let the last images fade. Let the mind grow still like a pond after the wind has stopped. In that stillness, something remains, something that cannot be named or described, something that has been present all along, waiting to be noticed. This is your true home. This is where you belong, not somewhere else, not someday later. Here, now, always. The deepest rest is not unconsciousness. It is pure awareness without content, a knowing without an object, a being without a doing. In this rest, healing happens by itself. Restoration occurs without effort. The body repairs. The mind clears. The heart opens. Everything that was tight loosens. Everything that was stuck flows. Everything that was broken mends. You do not have to try to sleep. Sleep is not an achievement. It is a release, a letting go so complete that even the one who lets go disappears. In sleep, there is no you. There is no world. There is only this darkness, only this rest, only this deep and infinite silence from which all things arise and to which all things return. The sound of rain has returned, or perhaps it never left. It falls on the roof above your head, a gentle percussion that lulls and soothes. Each drop is a small prayer. Each drop is a small blessing. The rain does not know where it falls. It does not choose its destination. It simply falls, and in its falling, it nourishes everything it touches: the fields, the forests, the gardens, the hearts of those who listen. Be like the rain. Fall without choosing where. Give without expecting return. Trust that wherever you land is exactly where you are meant to be. This trust is not a belief. It is a relaxation, a letting go of the need to control, a surrender to the wisdom that moves all things, the same wisdom that grows the trees and turns the seasons and beats your heart. It is working now. It has always been working. You can rest in its care. The thoughts that rise are not you. They are clouds crossing the sky of awareness. Perhaps a thought arises now, a memory, a worry, a plan for tomorrow. Do not push it away. Do not cling to it. Simply watch it. Simply notice it. It appears, lingers for a moment, and then fades, like a bird flying across your field of vision. You do not follow the bird. You do not become the bird. You simply observe its passing, and then return to stillness, return to rest, return to the vast openness that is your true nature. The body grows heavier, not with fatigue, but with peace. It sinks into the mattress like a stone sinking to the bottom of a clear lake, down, 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 past the currents of the surface, past the movements of the middle waters, down to the stillness at the very bottom, where nothing moves, where nothing disturbs, where everything is quiet and dark and perfect. This is the rest you have been seeking, not just tonight, but always. This is what lies beneath the endless activity, the constant striving, the perpetual motion of daily life. This stillness has always been here. It has always been available. You simply forgot. You got caught up in the waves and forgot about the depths. But now you remember. Now you return. Now you rest. The candle that has been burning in the distance grows smaller. Its flame, which once danced and flickered, now barely moves. A tiny point of light in an ocean of darkness. Watch it grow smaller. Watch it grow dimmer. Watch it become the faintest glow, barely visible, and then without warning, it goes out, and the darkness is complete, and the silence is perfect, and the rest is infinite. Peace is what remains when everything else has fallen away. Do not try to hold on to these words. Let them slip through your fingers like water. Let them dissolve into the silence from which they came. They have served their purpose. They have carried you this far. Now they are no longer needed. Now only rest remains, only darkness, only this breath, moving in and out, moving in and out, moving in and out. The body breathes itself, the heart beats itself, life lives itself, and you are free, free from the burden of doing, free from the weight of becoming, free from the endless effort of trying to be someone. There is no one to be. There is nothing to do. There is only this, only this, only this. The night holds you. The darkness embraces you. The silence receives you. You are safe. You are held. You are home. This is not a place you can visit and leave. This is not a state that comes and goes. This is what you are, what you have always been, what you will always be. Pure awareness, infinite rest, eternal peace. The thoughts that remain are fewer now, smaller, fainter, like stars fading at the approach of dawn. They do not demand your attention. They do not require your response. They simply appear and disappear, like bubbles rising and bursting on the surface of still water, and you remain beneath, in the depths, in the stillness, in the rest. The teachers spoke of a flame that cannot be extinguished, a light that shines in the darkness, a knowing that persists even when everything else is gone. This is not a metaphor. This is what you are. When all the content of consciousness has dissolved, this light remains. When all the stories have ended, this knowing persists. It does not come and go. It does not change. It simply is. You are that light. You are that knowing. You are that which remains when everything else falls away. Rest in this recognition. Rest in this truth. Rest in this peace that has no opposite, that needs no protection, that cannot be threatened, that simply is and has always been and will always be. What we seek outside ourselves is always found within. The voice that has been speaking grows softer now, more distant. It is not leaving. It is simply making space. Space for silence, space for rest, space for whatever needs to arise. The words continue, but they are no longer words. They are sounds, and then they are silence, and then they are nothing at all. In this nothing, everything is present. In this silence, all sounds are contained. In this darkness, all light is hidden. This is the paradox that the mind cannot understand, but you do not need to understand. You only need to rest. You only need to be. You only need to let go, completely and totally, into this infinite embrace. The night is long and kind. It does not rush. It does not demand. It simply offers itself hour after hour, darkness after darkness, until the dawn comes unbidden. And when the dawn comes, you awake, naturally, gently, like a flower opening in the first light. But that is hours from now. That is lifetimes from now. Right now, there is only this darkness, only this rest, only this peace. The breath slows, the heartbeat steadies, the mind grows quiet, not empty, but quiet, like a forest after fresh snow. Everything is there, the trees, the birds, the animals, but everything is still, everything is silent, everything is covered in white. This is the peace you enter now. This is the rest you receive. Let the snow fall. Let it cover everything. Your thoughts, your worries, your hopes, your fears, your name, your history, your future. Let it all be covered in white. Let it all be silenced by the soft falling of peace upon peace upon peace. There is nothing to protect, nothing to preserve, nothing to hold on to. Only this release, only this surrender, only this return. The teachers spoke of a death before death, not physical death, but the death of the false self, the death of everything we think we are. In this death, we discover what we truly are, what cannot die, what was never born, what simply is. You are tasting this death now. You are experiencing this release. You are discovering what remains when everything else is gone. Do not be afraid. There is nothing to fear. What dies was never real. What remains is what you have always been. The fear of death is the fear of losing what we never had. When we recognize this, the fear dissolves, and in its place, a great peace arises. The peace of no longer pretending, the peace of no longer grasping, the peace of simply being what we are. Peace is not the opposite of chaos. It is the ground from which chaos arises and into which it returns. The words are becoming more sparse now, more space between them. The silence grows longer, more prominent. The voice is fading, but the presence remains. The teaching is ending, but the truth continues. It will continue long after these words have stopped, long after this night has passed, long after everything you know has changed and changed again. You are part of an unbroken chain. Teachers teaching students who become teachers who teach students. The teaching passes from hand to hand, heart to heart, across the centuries. You have received it tonight, not in the words, but in the silence between the words, not in the stories, but in the space the stories created. You have received the only thing that can be given, the invitation to rest, the permission to let go, the recognition of what you already are. Take this with you into sleep, not as a memory, not as a concept, but as a fragrance that lingers, as a warmth that remains, as a peace that pervades every cell of your being. You do not have to remember the words. You do not have to remember the stories. You only have to remember this feeling, this rest, this home. The night continues. The darkness deepens. The breath moves. The heart beats. And you are carried, not by effort, not by will, but by grace, by the same grace that moves the stars and grows the grass and beats the hearts of all beings everywhere. You are not alone in this journey. You never were. You never will be. Let the final thoughts drift away now. Let the last images fade. Let the mind grow still as a midnight lake. In that stillness, something eternal is present. Something that was present before you were born, something that will be present after you die, something that is present now in this very moment, closer than your own breath. This is what the teachers point to. This is what the stories reveal. This is what sleep invites you into. The breath moves in. The breath moves out. The breath moves in. The breath moves out. There is nothing else. Only this. Only this. The bell has stopped ringing. Its sound has faded into silence. But the silence is not empty. It is full. Full of presence. Full of peace. Full of something that cannot be named but can only be felt. Feel it now. Feel it in your chest. Feel it in your belly. Feel it throughout your entire body. This fullness that is also emptiness. This peace that is also home. The words that arise and pass are not the truth. The truth is what remains when no words arise. Sleep is approaching now, not as an ending, but as a beginning, not as an absence, but as a presence. In sleep, the conscious mind rests, but awareness remains. It is always present. It is what notices the dream. It is what notices the absence of dream. It is what notices the waking. It does not come and go. Everything else comes and goes. But awareness remains, constant, unchanging, at peace. You are that awareness. You have always been that awareness. You will always be that awareness. The body sleeps, but you do not sleep. The mind dreams, but you do not dream. You are the witness, the watcher, the one who remains. Rest now as that one. Rest now as what you truly are. The night is here. The breath moves on its own. And all is well. All is well. All is well. The darkness holds you like a mother holds a sleeping child. Completely, tenderly, without condition, without demand. You are safe in this darkness. You are home in this silence. You are at peace in this rest. Let the body sink deeper. Let the breath grow slower. Let the mind grow quieter. There is nowhere to go, nothing to do, no one to be. Only this rest, only this peace, only this endless, infinite, welcoming silence. The candle has gone out. The flame has disappeared, but the warmth remains. The light remains. Not visible light, but the light of awareness. The light that needs no fuel. The light that cannot be extinguished. The light that you are. Rest in that light. Rest in that awareness. Rest in that peace that has no opposite. That was never born. That will never die. That simply is, as you simply are, as everything simply is. One light, one awareness, one peace, one rest. The rain has stopped, or perhaps it continues. It no longer matters. Nothing matters now except this rest, this peace, this return to what you have always been. Sleep rises to meet you like a tide. Let it carry you. Let it hold you. Let it take you wherever it wants to go. There is nothing to fear in sleep. There is nothing to lose in letting go. What matters most will remain. What no longer serves will fall away. And in the morning you will wake, refreshed, renewed, restored. But that is hours from now. That is lifetimes from now. Right now there is only this darkness, only this silence, only this peace. What we call the end is simply another beginning. The breath continues, slow, steady, natural. The heart continues, strong, faithful, true. The body continues, resting, healing, restoring, and awareness continues, watching, witnessing, at peace. You do not have to do anything. You do not have to be anyone. You can simply rest. You can simply be. You can simply let go, completely and totally, into this infinite darkness, this infinite silence, this infinite peace. The stories have ended. The teachings are complete. Only silence remains. Only rest. Only this. Let the eyes rest behind closed lids. Let the jaw relax. Let the tongue rest soft in the mouth. Let the shoulders fall. Let the hands open. Let the belly soften. Let everything that can let go. And then let go of the one who is letting go. And then let go of the letting go itself. Until nothing remains. Until no one remains. Until only this remains. This awareness. This peace. This rest. The night enfolds you. The darkness receives you. The silence holds you. And you are at peace. Finally, completely, totally at peace. The words have done their work. They can rest now too. In the silence between them. In the space around them. In the nothing from which they came and to which they return. All is well. All is well. All is well. Sleep now. Rest now. Peace now. The breath moves in. The breath moves out. And that is all. That is all. That is all. The moon continues its journey across the sky, but you do not need to watch. The stars continue their ancient turning, but you do not need to follow. The world continues its endless becoming, but you do not need to participate. You can rest, you can sleep, you can let go. The teachers have spoken, the stories have been told, the lessons have been given. Now there is only silence. Now there is only rest. Now there is only this breath, this moment, this peace, and nothing more. Nothing more is needed. Nothing more is wanted. Nothing more is possible. Only this, only this, only this. The darkness deepens further still, like water seeping into soil, like light fading from the sky, like thought dissolving into silence. There is nowhere deeper to go. There is nowhere else to be. This is the bottom. This is the ground. This is the place where falling stops and resting begins. Rest here, stay here, be here, in this nothing that is everything, in this emptiness that is full, in this silence that speaks, in this darkness that illuminates, in this death that is life, in this ending that is beginning. You have travelled far tonight, not in space, but in depth, not in distance, but in release. You have let go of so much, stories, thoughts, fears, hopes, and in letting go you have found what remains, what has always remained, what will always remain. This awareness, this presence, this peace, it does not come and go, it does not rise and fall, it does not depend on anything. It simply is, as you simply are, as everything simply is. Rest in this isness, rest in this being, rest in this peace that passes understanding. The words grow softer now, quieter, more distant, until they are barely there, until they are not there at all, until only silence remains, only rest, only peace. The breath moves in, the breath moves out, and the world continues, quietly, without you needing to do a thing, without you needing to do a thing, without you needing to do a thing. Sleep, rest, peace, all is well, all is well, all is well. The final word approaches but does not arrive. The last thought lingers but does not land. The story ends but the silence continues. On and on, forever and ever, without beginning or end. You are that silence. You are that continuation. You are that which does not begin and does not end. Rest in this recognition. Rest in this truth. Rest in this peace. Good night, good night, good night, and good rest, and good peace, and good everything, always, forever, now. The darkness is complete. The silence is perfect. The rest is infinite. And you are home. You are home. You are home.